Welcome, everybody, as you start to appear out of the ether. It's quite funny when you think about it. And we click a button and people start to appear one by one. Lovely to see you here tonight. We have our famous daily meditation practice. And I'm going to ask you all a question, actually. I thought I'd start with a question because I'm curious to know. My question is this: how many people use this daily practice or one like it? So if you've got your camera on, just thumbs up if you use a daily practice, and if you use it typically daily, thank you, Sora. There's a yes. And if you don't have your camera on, you can always, I'll just make a gallery view so I can see everybody. Just give me a thumbs up or something like that, just so I've got a bit of a sense. Thank you, Carmel. Well, daily practice is really important because it's a daily practice. And why do we say it's important? Well, if I think back to when I first started to learn to meditate a long time ago, and had the very great joy of having Ian as my teacher all those years ago, I learned about the way he teaches meditation. And this particular practice is really the foundation, not just of the way Ian chooses to teach meditation and many, many others, but it's very common across all sorts of different traditions. So, and it's common for a very good reason. So what's common about it is that the practice starts with attending to things outside yourself. And gradually, as you go through, and you'll be familiar with this practice, I'm sure, but as you go through the practice, you focus more and more closely. You start to focus internally. You start to focus on your body. You start to focus on your breath. So your process starts out wide. It narrows down further and further and further. It's a very mindful exercise in becoming aware of your circumstance and aware of the present moment. And then beautifully, it opens out again. It's if you imagine the shape of an hourglass, or what you call an hourglass, where you have the sand trickling down from the top of the bowl down into the bottom. And this meditation is a little bit like that. You start off right at the top, out broad. You narrow down into the funnel of that little hourglass or the sand funnel, and then you broaden out again, because what you enter into is a place of stillness and peace, which becomes deeper and deeper and broader as you go. So there's a lovely symmetry. It's a little bit like the infinity sign, if you think of that, which is a horizontal symbol. That kind of symbols like that. It has the same features, that big on the outside and narrow in the middle. So in our practice, we're going to follow that progression, that very natural progression of focused attention, beginning from the outside, coming in, and so on. And the other interesting thing I think about this truly foundational practice, and I came to this observation fairly early on when I was teaching particularly large corporate audiences. The most common refrain when you talk to busy people, and if you're introducing meditation as an idea and a practice, is the most common thing you will hear, as you would know, I'm sure, by instinct, or not, if not by your own experience, is, I don't have time. I don't have time to sit for 10 minutes. That's ridiculous. I don't have time. I don't have 5 minutes to sit quietly. I would say, of course you do. I would always challenge that belief and that assumption that people have. But you can do this practice in a very extended form, or you can do it in a very contracted, very precise and concise form. So what I would invite people in with busy lives who, in workplaces, it's not uncommon for people to construct their working day as though every minute is sort of taken up. If you think about a calendar, so every half hour, every hour has something in it. There's kind of no space between meetings, and you kind of make the observation, well, so you've got a meeting that goes from, say, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Then you've got a meeting that goes from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Then you've got a meeting that goes from 12 a.m. and so on and so on. So, of course, that's absurd. unless you're sitting in the one room and you don't move all day, which is unlikely. It's most likely that you'll get up and you'll move somewhere and you'll move somewhere else perhaps. So we have this kind of insane idea that you can contract your day into intervals with no gaps in between. So I think that's foolish. And so what I would say to people is, how about you construct your working day a little differently? Why don't you say, okay, the common practice in our organisation or in our group of people that you meet with regularly, say you have 50-minute meetings. You don't have 1-hour meetings, because you can construct a calendar just the same way. You don't have to have it. It's not a rule that says they must be 30 minutes or they must be 50 or must be a minute. They could be 50 or 55. So construct your day differently so you've got these gaps. And then you introduce the idea of, so there are gaps of time where you can attend to something else, because you actually can't move from one thing to another with no space in between. That's impossible. You need a space. And also, so now that you're sensibly constructing your calendars with 5-minute intervals at least between major events, so what do you do with that 5 minutes? Well, okay, you go to the loo, or you have a glass of water, or you make a quick phone call, or you do something else. You pick up another document, whatever it is that's your habit. So, but there's another thing you can do which is really important, and it stems from this daily meditation practice, and that is just take a moment. So before you enter the next activity, the next obligation, the next thing, just close your eyes if you can, if you feel comfortable doing that in a workplace setting, and take 3 breaths and follow this daily meditation in approach. So you begin outwards, you go, what can I hear? What can I sense? What's outside me? What do I feel in my body? I'm now attending to my breath. And now I'm just deeply still just for a moment or two. It can be as quick as 3 breaths. So once you have mastered this skill of this foundational practice, you can do it anywhere, anytime, and also for any duration. And as experienced meditators, you might be saying, well, you know, a 3-second meditation is not worth much. I go, well, it might be better than nothing. And if you have this strong habit of daily practice, you can enter into a sense of deep stillness in really just a moment or two. It's one of the things that comes to you with continued practice. We know the more you practice, the better you get at it. It's simply true, as with most things. So I'd just like to leave that kind of idea with you, so that in your lives, if you find in your day that you are actually pressed for time, you also feel that sense of, I don't really have time to do a practice during the day. I might have one in the morning, or I might have one in the evening, or I might do both, or some other variation. But there's a long time in between. So why don't you also try that? Why don't you, it's an invitation, if you like, to try that too. So in moments between things, before you go from one thing to another without a gap in between, just take a moment to pause. Just close your eyes. Focus, tend, become present, be aware of your breath, enter a sense of stillness without any other concern, any other thought. They'll all be there when you come back from your practice. Don't worry, they're not going to leave you. You're not going to forget them. And then come back. And there you go. You'll find that you are just much more composed throughout your day, as well as after your longer practices. So that's probably enough of that. And I think also, well, perhaps just this final thing. I just was watching the news before I settled myself in to prepare for tonight, and just noticing, you know, all the daily horrors, I suppose, and some particularly challenging ones in Sydney, in particular, of course, in the Middle East, and in many, many other parts of the world. And I just think to myself, it's essential that you take this time, that it's a pathway through the complexities and the awfulness of things that are truly, you know, that happen around us. So you take that moment, you go, okay, I feel a bit overwhelmed. I'm just going to take a moment, just go through this practice, this ritual of practice, and then come back to whatever it is you need to do. And I think it's profound, has a profound impact on us all. So there we go. And I just have to give one mild apology. I have this continuing legacy gift to my grandchildren who we had over Easter with us for a week, and they dutifully gave me their current cold, which I'm still just, you may be able to hear that in my voice. And I've brought my mute button really close to me so that if halfway through this practice I'm about to go into a cough, as I am now, I'll hit the button so I don't startle you out of your practice. And perhaps you won't even notice because you'll be so masterfully meditating. Okay, so let's begin our practice now. Just take that moment. Really settle into your practice, doing whatever it is you feel most comfortable doing, but really the objective is to have a nice, comfortable, balanced posture, just as upright as you can comfortably sustain. We don't want you being in pain or discomfort. If you're sitting up, you know the ritual. Your feet flat on the floor, and perhaps cupping your hands together or resting them on your thighs, whichever is more comfortable. And if you're lying down, just nicely on your back, perhaps something tucked under your neck to support your neck. And your hands by your sides, facing upwards. Whatever is most comfortable for you. And as you settle, you might like to just gently close your eyes, turning your thoughts inwards, and remembering that this is a time for relaxing, but for becoming more mindful, and of course, letting go into stillness. And if you can, just be clear about your intention, about why you're doing this exercise. But then if you can also just let go of any particular expectation you have. There's no need to strive or to be overly ambitious, but instead just to be curious and alert, open to the experience. And you might like to just focus on your breath. Maybe take a deeper breath or two. Just noticing change of shape of your body as you breathe in and as you breathe out. And be curious too to notice whatever sounds you can hear right now. And particularly any sounds that might be coming to you in your awareness from outside the space you're in right now. Just aiming to simply notice them, allowing them to be present without any sense of judgment or commentary. Just simply noticing with a sense of gentle curiosity. Just noticing any sounds coming to you from outside of the space where you are right now. And now bring your attention more particularly into this space that you're in right now. So noticing any sounds coming within this space itself. Again, just noticing, being curious, free of any judgment or commentary. Just simply being aware of the sounds. the pure sounds, pure awareness. And bring your attention more particularly to your own body and listening closely. Maybe you can notice the subtle sounds of the breath. Breathing in and breathing out. And as you bring your attention more to the breath, notice to the movement in the body as you're breathing in and breathing out. And being aware that as you're breathing in, you are breathing in. And as you're breathing out, you are breathing out. And as you continue to hold your attention on the breath, you'll probably notice that as you breathe out, there's a natural feeling of letting go a little. It's just a natural thing that as we breathe out, we tend to let go a little, to relax a little. Without making any more or less of this, simply noticing that each time we breathe out, relaxing a little, letting go a little. And at the same time, you might notice that as you breathe out, the out breath tends to taper away. It's becoming longer, finer, and subtler. So breathing out and letting go, relaxing a little, and the out breath becoming longer, finer, and subtle. And when the out breath is completed, often there's a pause, a little gap before we breathe in again. And so breathing out, the out breath going longer and finer and subtle. And then a pause, a little gap. letting go of any effort to breathe back in again, and just aiming to simply allow the in-breath to come back of its own accord. Breathing out, the out breath becoming longer, finer, subtler, with that feeling of letting go, relaxing a little, and a pause, and simply allowing the in-breath to come back in of its own accord, quite effortlessly. Effortlessly. Relaxing, releasing, feeling the ease of it all. The ease of it all. Just simply letting go and feeling it all through the body and the mind. Calm and relax. Calm and relaxed. Just going with it. Going with it. Quite effortlessly. Effortlessly. Letting go. Simply letting go. And now it might help to take your attention to that point between the eyes, a little into the forehead. Notice there what's like a still, quiet center. A point of stillness. Maybe you notice it more particularly in the space behind the closed eyelids. Just holding your attention now, lightly, on this point of stillness. So almost as if you can merge into this stillness. Relaxing, releasing, merging, dissolving. Maybe even a sense of expanding into the stillness. And just simply letting go quite effortlessly. Effortlessly. Letting go. Simply letting go. Now just resting in that stillness. If at any stage, notice mind is wandering or becoming a little distracted. As soon as you notice that, just gently bring your attention back to that point of stillness, relaxing, releasing, managing, melting, dissolving, and simply rest in that stillness quite effortlessly. Effortlessly, letting go, simply letting go. It's good. Good. I'd like to bring a little bit of movement into your body. Your hands and feet. Perhaps a stretch. And then when you're ready, just let your eyes gently open again. Thank you, everyone.